At first, the story sounded like something out of a nightmare. A mother driving down a dark, rural road in Oregon late at night. A stranger suddenly flagged her down, approached her car, and without warning opened fire on her and her children. When Diane Downs arrived at the hospital in May 1983, she was injured. Her children were critically wounded, and one of them did not survive. She told police that it had been a random attack, a senseless act of violence by an unknown man on the side of the road. On the surface, it was tragic but straightforward, a victim of circumstance. A mother caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. But almost immediately, something about her story didn't sit right. Investigators began noticing small inconsistencies, details that didn't quite align with physical evidence, and perhaps most unsettling of all, Diane's demeanor. In interviews, she appeared unusually calm, almost detached from the severity of what had happened. There were moments where her emotional responses didn't match the situation, moments where her tone felt more rehearsed than reactive. It wasn't enough to accuse her of anything, but it was enough to raise questions. As detectives continued to reconstruct the scene, the gaps in her story became harder to ignore. The trajectory of the gunshots didn't match the version of events she described. The positioning inside the vehicle suggested something different, something closer, more controlled, and far less random than an outside attacker. And then there was the timeline, the delays, the choices she made after the incident, the way she responded in critical moments. It all began to paint a picture that conflicted with the image she was presenting. But what made the case even more disturbing was what investigators uncovered about her life leading up to that night. Diane had been involved in a relationship with a man who made it clear he didn't want children. For most people, that would be a boundary, something that defines the limits of a relationship. But for Diane, it became something else entirely. Instead of accepting that reality, she appeared to see it as an obstacle, something that could be removed. This is where the case shifts from confusion to something far more calculated. The idea that the incident wasn't random, but intentional, began to take shape. That the narrative she told wasn't a reaction to feelings, but a cover for it. When investigators revisited the evidence with that perspective, everything started to align in a different way. The lack of struggle, the control over the environment, the inconsistencies in her account, it all pointed in one direction. And yet, even as the evidence mounted, Diane maintained her story. She continued to present herself publicly as a victim, even appearing in interviews where her behavior only deepened the unease surrounding the case. There was a disconnect, an inability or refusal to align her emotional presentation with the reality of the situation. In cases like this, the psychology becomes just as important as the evidence. This wasn't just about what happened, it was about how someone could construct a narrative so completely and then inhabit it as if it were real. It raises questions about identity, control, and the ways people justify their actions when faced with conflicting desires. The trial ultimately brought the evidence into focus, and the story that once seemed plausible collapsed under scrutiny. Diane Downs was convicted and sentenced to life in prison, but the case continues to stand out, not just because of the crime itself, but because of the behavior that surrounded it. Because what makes this story so disturbing isn't just the act, it's the performance. It's the way reality was reshaped, presented, and defended in the face of overwhelming contradiction. And even now, the case leaves behind an unsettling question. How do you distinguish between someone who is telling a story and someone who has convinced themselves it's the truth? If you found this case as unsettling as it is fascinating, make sure to like the video so more people can discover these stories. And subscribe for more lesser-known true crime cases told through cinematic storytelling.